Ae hayo, ai ha, haye, haye, hayo. Oh, haye, haye hayo. Hiya ha, haye, haye, hayo. Oh, haye, haye, hayo. Oh, hey ya ha, hey ho, way ya hey ya ha, hey ya hey hey, hey ya hey, hey ya hey ya ha, hey ho. Ho! Well, Claudia. Way hey ha hey 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 ha hey ho. Way hey ha hey 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 ha hey ho ho. Well, Claudia. Way hey ha hey 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 ha hey ho. Way hey ha hey 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 hey.
some of the people escaped from the secret tunnels that we had in our longhouses.
Provided that safe place that, you could come here, learn some of our traditions, and, take a little part in creating this.
From the Nez Perce Nation, from Lapwai, Idaho, here again in Cascade Locks, Oregon, standing with this nice Wawukia, a bull elk from the Cascade Mountain Range up in the Blue Mountains. Toxic Savior, Napala Haipa, He Wasene, Mine Wanem, what toxic Savior, Napala Haipa. Oh, he cuts you out, yeah, hot and hot and hot and hung you up.
Then creation was complete, man and woman, the yellow of the earth, the red of our blood, the red of our life, and the blue of the heavens above, our spirit. We were created in these 3 steps in our belief. But the Creator had already had things on this world that were here prior. So as a man stood on the east side looking to the west, and the woman stood on the west looking to the east, all creation came before them. The first to speak and give of himself, and he spoke for all the life, the water life that followed him was the salmon. As the first food he gave and sacrificed of himself. After the salmon, all the water life named of itself, all the salmonoid species, all the resident fish species, down to the shako, the clams. The second to speak of the first foods was a deer. The deer gave of himself to be our food. He gave us his bones to become our tools. He gave his skin to become our clothing. And then he also gave to us one of the biggest gifts of his hide to make the drum. After the deer spoke, then all the animals that walked the land named themselves in order in the first foods as they went along. Elk, antelope, moose, buffalo, even down to the groundhog, which is a food as well. And they gave a promise that they can never change. And from the day of the beginning to this day, they're still the same. So then creation turned and looked to the west, and it was the woman stood. Then all the plant life and roots that we use named themselves to her. And the first to speak was the bitter root. I am Piache, I will be your food. But before anybody harvests, you've got to have that ceremony to recognize that new growth. And that was the law that was made. Then the roots, all in order, named themselves. Many, many, many roots. Luke, Chau, Sasmita, Anipash, Panko, Mammon, all kinds of different roots. That some of them we don't even harvest now these days ourselves. We're forgetting them. And that's where we fall short. The order, but the one to speak was the Wilno, the huckleberry. And like any good grandmother, wanted to see all of her children go first before her. That's why she's always served at the last part, at the end. Then after all the berries named themselves in order that they give themselves, then creation all looked back to the man, to the east. And at that time is when the water spoke. In Ashwanishachu, I am water. I will be the blood of our mother, the earth. From me you are born. Both men and women are born from water. The meal is not done until the end, when you drink water and you pray again. The salmon that went and came back and never changed, never broke that promise. The animals that live in the mountains that can never change, they've never broken that promise. But when European people have come and brought us all the easy things of life, many years ago it was a gun, metal, knives. Things were easy, made easier. Canvas, homes, cars, airplanes, TV, internet. Everything this day that makes our life easier takes us that much farther away from our first foods. We're the ones that have changed. And it's up to us now to change ourselves back, to reacquaint ourselves with that great law that can never be changed. Chi Iwan Akushnash Tumnachin Nami Outnin Natkurat Miai. This is a testimony I give in relationship to our first foods, the holy sacred foods. Audyanagusnash Ashapawachakai Shanami Minash in Miai. And I commit this to recording for the future of my children. Kukna Chanaman Kuki Wadachna Lalakwe, that perhaps it will never be left behind. Chao Shwachi in Misinwit, because these are not my words. Pusha Shash. Because I'm only repeating and echoing the words of my elders.
Well, I always say God created grandmothers because he couldn't be everywhere. I have that on my refrigerator even. Because I think every grandmother is the focal point that is the head of a family. You know, they're the wisdom keepers, the grandmothers. My name is Agnes Baker is my maiden name, so I sometimes use that, Agnes Baker Pilgrim. And I was born in a little town called Logston, Oregon, Logsden, Oregon, September 11, 1924, I was delivered by my grandmother, who was the midwife in the area at that time. A wonderful lady, because I grew up to love my gram. And I'm right now I'm one of the elders of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz. My people that lived here in southern Oregon, the Tequila Indians, lived here for over 20,000 years. And they were driven out of here in 1856 north, over rough ground, inclement weather, wearing out their moccasins and ending up with bad sore feet at Siletz, Oregon, which is inland from Newport, Oregon, about 16 miles. And so I grew up there. It was my mother and dad were still alive, and there was 9 of us in our family, brothers and sisters. And right now, they're all gone except me. I was the third from the end. And where we grew up in Lincoln County, Oregon, there were signs when I was a kid all over the county where dogs and Indians not allowed. It was a terrible stigma they put on us. And my dad was a musician. He could play piano, guitar, violin, ukulele. And he told us, all of us, that we'd better learn some music. And so we did. When we were in high school, we used to play for dances, and they'd give us quarters, nickels, and dimes for playing for dances on the weekend. And as I grew up, my father was right, because he said that with those signs all over that county that music would help us to fit and belong. And he was right, because I used to play and sing all over Oregon here when I was young. And so it was that acceptance that made us all feel good about ourselves. God told me one day that I had to go and restore a salmon ceremony over in Oregon, and I said, I don't even live over there. You give it to somebody over there. Well, that didn't work. So my husband was a fisherman too, and he was a full-blood Yurok. And so we loaded up our truck and we came, and they gave us some ground. A committee over here in Oregon gave us some ground out of over off of the Applegate River below the Applegate Dam in 1993. And so I brought everything over that we need to cook, and the fish and everything, and our tables. And we set it up in 93 and fed the people from all over. And then I had a runner that would run along the banks to invite people to come, because I wanted to help them to police the river and stop the garbage. It was bad back there, still is, I think. And but I started in 93. In 1994, the State Fish and Game came and said, we don't know what you done, Grandma, but there's more fish in that river than we've ever heard of. And I said, well, when you teach reciprocity, God blesses you. And he answers in that way. Because every one of my ceremonies, I had a sweat lodge built and blessed, and I had divers in there. One of them was my great-grandson. At that time, he was 5 years old. And so when they were in the sweat lodge for an hour, I had fish cooked, and I fed everybody there a taste of fish. And they'd bring all the skin and bones back to me, and I have a beautiful fish bowl carved. And so I put them in there, that when the divers came out of the sweat lodge with cedar boughs on their hands, which is sacred to us, I'd place all the skin and bones on them. The drums would start, and it would drum them up to the side of the river, and they would stand there and pray to Salmon Nation, because my people believed that salmon looked like us, two-legged people, and lived in beautiful cities below the ocean floor. And they chose every spring and fall to put on the shape of salmon to swim up the river to feed us. So when I read that helped me to start the salmon ceremony. So it was a sacred thing when they were in the sweat lodge and doing their prayers. singing in there. But when they come out, we put the fish skin and bones on their hands, and they drum would start and drum them to the edge of the river. They too would stand there and pray to the Salmon Nation to take these remains back, that we loved them, and put them back in the fish and come and feed us. And then they dive in that water and try to put rocks on top of that and way down on the bottom. And so when they came back out, I had a bath towel for each of them to dry with. And when they got dried off, they'd come back up and everybody would congratulate them and give them a hug for what they'd done. So this is what I told the State Fish and Games, why the Creator blessed with more salmon, because it was done in a sacred manner. So I did that, and then I'd swing back over on the Rogue River over by Gold Hill, and where my people, the Tacoma Indians, they had a rock out in the middle, and on top of that rock is a chair, like it's a chair carved in it. And my dad sat in that chair in 1935. A man would sit there and look down at the eddy and watch for the salmon. When they'd see one coming, then they could fish for the fish. They never did it until then. And so they would all come together by the thousands, and in a peaceful way, and all enjoy a big fish cookout. And so then I restored that in 1993, and I kept swinging back and forth on the rivers. And it really, the Creator really blessed and brought the salmon back. So then I have 5 generations right here in Grants Pass right now. I have 5 generations in California. I have a lot of kids. I just had this big gathering up to my tribe last month, and I had, 74 of my family from New York and Missoula, Montana, all over Oregon, California, that came to the gathering. The pictures will come out in this month's tribal paper. And I was really proud because I bring in the most family of anybody in our tribe. And I'm the second oldest in our tribe. And I'm the oldest living Tacoma Indian of my people that once lived here for over 22,000 years. And I'm very proud to say that. 2 of my grandfathers were signers at the Table Rocks, 2 up to Agnes, Oregon. And my grandfather was the first chief of our tribe, and my mother's dad. She was an Indian princess, but they didn't call her that. They didn't know the word in their language, but she was. Now that's why I wear his picture here today, my grandfather. And he even went to Washington, D.C. to sign papers that would help our tribe, even generations ahead. And he would make sure that it would benefit our people before he would sign anything. Creator told me a long time ago that water could hear, that we were all water babies, all humans. And I used to speak at the universities and schools, and the kids just shake their head. They didn't want to believe they were water baby. I said, oh yes, don't shake your head, because I said, you're all born in the amniosac and water. And water's your first medicine. I said, in fact, before you even came out, you followed the ball of water. I said, talk to your mom. She could tell you. And I said, so water's our first medicine, and we better start taking better care of it. Because how long do you think you could live without water? Not very long. I said, just think how we would smell right now, or how our clothes would smell if we didn't have water. I said, it's time. I said, I never take a shower, but I say, I bless you, I love you. I never drink water unless I say, I love you. Bless me. I wash out all the baddies and all of that, even when it's raining on my head, to bless it. Because if we didn't have the rain, we wouldn't have good air, because it waters the green so that we can get good air. And so I teach all this stuff to everybody. Because I never thought I'd get this old and have to buy water in a bottle. I said, just think how long it takes them to take and fill these bottles, put them in a box, take them to the stores, put them on the shelf. How long do they sit there when the consumer comes and buys it? And when they do, is all the chemicals and elements still in it, or does it leak through the plastic? I don't get mine in a bottle. I have it delivered right to my house in these bluish-green jugs, right from Mount Ashland. Good water. I would have, it just came to me a while ago. When I was a baby, my mom sang this song to all of us. Nika Jesus, tiki niga, Nika Jesus, tiki niga, Nika Jesus, tiki niga, kagawago wow. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. That's what my mom used to sing to me when I was a baby. So I like it because when I do sing it, I feel her presence. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you so much.
Because the old one said, when you call them, they come.
Jesus, he knew he was seen him. Inem was sapo geswi why itam in God nim ibnim spirit ibnim kika was Watach sich Savior na pala hypa minim wanim Watach sich Savior na pala hypa Deine was lasli loini Itam in one